What's up, YouTube? How you guys doing today? Just want to check in with you guys, talk about a few things. Before we get started, if you guys would do me a favor, I'm trying to grow the channel. So if you can hit that like and subscribe button and comment how you liked the video or what you didn't like about the video. Any interaction helps me grow. And then, man, just please just jump the curve. Somebody was doing something. But anyway, anything you do can help me grow the channel. So what I want to talk to you today about is confidence in interacting with the opposite sex, right? And this can go for girls or guys, but this really is for the guys, because I can only speak from my own anecdotal and personal experience. Well, what I wanted to say is a lot of times when I was back in the dating realm, it wasn't so much like for example, let me break this down. So some women and some people, but it's, talk about women, might be attracted to the glitz and the glamour, right? So you might not ever be their style, and that's okay, right? Because what I really want to focus in on is maximizing yourself, right? Because you're never going to be any taller than you are, right? You're never going to be, a specimen if you're not already one, right? The genetic makeup that you have is all you have. And that's okay, but you have to maximize what you have. And that's where your confidence comes in. I think a lot of times when it comes to approaching women or just interacting with people in general, because you can actually use this for any type of interaction, whether that be personal relationships or in the office room, anything. Confidence is something that can be applied to a lot of different aspects, but where confidence comes from is knowing yourself, right? And what do I mean by that? So knowing yourself, meaning that you are putting the best foot forward, right? Whether that be in the boardroom or in any other rooms, if that makes sense to you guys, right? So how do you get that confidence? By investing in yourself. So a lot of times when I would go out and I was looking to interact with different people, obviously I'd come in and there's some guys that are getting the attention, and so some that may discourage some people, like, oh well, the girl I want is staring at these guys, and then that pushes you down into a pity party, right? Because I've been there. I would go out. I mean, I really cut my teeth in when I turned 18. I was living in Las Vegas because I was in the military, right? So the competition there was fierce, and that's where I really learned that you have to be good with the level you're at and maneuver there, because you're never going to be the richest. And I said this in another video. You can be well off, but you're never going to be the richest guy. You might not be the tallest guy. You might not be, have all these features that you want. But if you are well groomed, right, you ain't coming out the house stinking, and you look well put together, your options just got a lot bigger, right? You got a lot wider. But I think the first thing that I hear guys that complain about that, and I look at them and I'm like, well, you're not having success with women. It's first and foremost because of your own personal hygiene, right? I mean, I know that's a touchy subject. I mean, as the late great KS would say, Kevin Samuels, is these are things that our fathers should have taught us, and some guys don't have fathers, so or they don't have any male role models to tell them these things. Man, somebody, you got to wash yourself, man. You got to take care of your skin. You got to groom yourself. Make sure you have your haircut is kept. Your nails. A lot of women look at your nails, right? So if your fingernails are not clean, your hands are dirty, your personal upkeep is not where it should be, you're already losing before you get started. I mean, because a woman's going to look at you. I remember there used to be a saying when I was growing up, I don't know if it's still true now. It may be, may not be. But the first thing a woman will look at once she sees your face, she's gonna look down at your shoes. Oh, I thought there was somebody on the doggone. Never mind. But the first thing she's gonna look at your shoes. So a lot of guys I see walking around, you don't have to have the super nicest shoes on, right? But your shoes need to at least be clean, right? And you may not have the nicest car, but your car needs to be clean, right? Because if you're picking up let's say you get past the point of getting the number, getting to know her, you go to pick her up, and you start to interact with this woman, your car is a mess. She's gonna think the house is a mess, and I mean, honestly, she's not gonna give up anything, right? And I mean, I know things are a lot more complicated than when I was in the game. I mean, I'm only 41, so I'm not too far removed. But these are basic principles that can even get you in the door. A lot of guys are focused on the wrong things, and sometimes you even focus on the wrong woman. Right? There is a lot of women out here, but we tend to be hyper focused on the bad parts of the dating game, right? And the simplest thing is if a woman portrays habits that you're not into, don't pursue. Right? It's easier just to find somebody that's with your program, right? And that also is where your confidence comes in, right? Have enough confidence in yourself to say, you know what? Me doing all this makes me feel little, right? And that was a lesson I learned a little bit later on in the dating game, because I was like everybody else when I first started. I was all, I was ogling and googie-eyed about a lot of, beautiful women, and, some of them I got. But, on the grand scale of things, like the work required, as people say, the orange wasn't worth the squeeze, right? Once I did all that and I finally, got, further along in the situation, she just wasn't worth it. And the reason for that, because a lot of times when somebody's like super mega beautiful, a lot of 10s just really don't have any personality. And the reason they don't have personality is majority of them never had to develop one, because all they ever had to do was be pretty, right? They never had to, be able to interact with people, be funny. They were always treated so nice, and they never had any issues with developing, and they never had to develop interpersonal skills, right? Because they just proved it. All they had to do was just be there. And to dive even further into that, some women, and this may go for guys too, but like I said, this is coming from a guy's perspective. Some women were so pretty that they never had to do anything in other areas as well, right? They just had to show up, because the guys would be so happy that they were getting that far with them. They didn't require them to do anything else but just be there, right? So, like I said, sometimes the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And I'd find myself having better interactions with people that weren't, the 10 out of 10, right? Because they had to develop themselves in order to get the attention. And that's kind of what I'm telling you guys today. You may not get to the 10s of the 10s, but there's a lot of good 6s, 7s, and 8s that when they dress themselves up are drop dead gorgeous, right? And there's so much more of them than there are 10s, 9s, and 10s, right? And a lot of times the stuff you'll put up with a 9 and 10, you wouldn't put up with it with a 6, 7, or 8, or a 5. You shouldn't be putting up with it with anything lower than that, because 5 is average, right? And I mean, average means there's an abundance of them. And some women are, slightly above average. Some people are, way above average, so on and so forth, right? And I've heard it said, and I've seen it with my own eyes, some guys who were 5s themselves who didn't want to work on themselves, like they were just an average guy, felt that, oh, I deserve a 10. I mean, we don't say that enough. We say that a lot for women. And there are some delusional women out there. Don't get me wrong. There are some women who are 3s and 4s and 5s that believe that they shouldn't date anything less than a 10 because they believe they're a 10 themselves. And they convolute that with confidence and like, well, that just means I'm confident. No, that's your delusion. Confident means I am a 5. When I dress up, I'm a 6 or a 7 because I'll put on my P's and Q's and I should be able to get, my value in return. I've said this before, you probably heard this before. Some women, or a lot of the women that are delusional about how they look, they're delusional because they believe that attention that they get from the opposite sex results in value. All right, so what do I mean by that? So once again, out in the dating world, I've ran across some women where I thought they were cute, right? But they weren't 10s. I thought they were cute. And, they were cute, right? They weren't drop dead gorgeous, but they weren't ugly, right? And if any of you guys have ever lived in a city with professional sports team, whether that be, basketball, baseball, most of the time it's basketball and football the most, but sometimes basketball. Because football, and the reason I harp on football, because there's so many guys who play football on the roster, on the team, which means there's more men out there looking, right? So sometimes you'll find women who have dated those guys, right? And they call it dating, like, oh, they linked up, the guy spent some money on them. So because this guy who makes a higher than above salary and has a little bit of notoriety, they believe that all their guys should be like that, right? And the key factor was like, unless you were a long-term girlfriend, right? Unless you met mom and dad, he took you on not just dates, but he took you on outings and vacations, and like he was with you, you don't pull that guy. That's not your lane. Because here's the thing, when a guy has access to money and he moves about the city, has a little notoriety, he's still a guy. And while he might show you, physical attention, right? He's not showing you emotional attention. You know what I mean? He's not showing you mental attention. But because a woman gets that physical attention, or, sometimes some girls don't even get that physical attention. It's just some guy that looks good slid in your inbox. And the reason he slid in your inbox, baby girl, is because he's a 9, or he's a 10, and you look easy. He's thinking, well, I got this, that, and the third going for myself. She ain't hitting on much. I can go ahead and slide in the DM. And I'm telling you guys, this is what guys do. Because sometimes, if I'm a 9 or a 10, or even if I'm a 6 or a 7, it's easier to get to 4 or 5. Because I'm on another level. I can cut through all the BS and get straight to it. Because why would I try to date somebody that's on my level when it's a lot easier? If I'm a 10, it's a lot easier for me to get 8s. I can cut through all of the BS and go straight to getting that 8. Why? Because she's going to feel happy to be there. And a lot of those women are. They're like, oh, girl, he played for the Bobcats. Or this is the time when I went to Bobcats. I'm from Charlotte originally. And, oh, girl, he played for the Bobcats. Oh, girl, he played for the Panthers. And I'm looking and I'm like, at first I didn't really believe them. And then they started showing me pictures of them together. But then I noticed in the pictures, girl, you laying in bed with him. This is before social media was really social media. Where, pictures, sometimes we get these people caught up. Like, it wouldn't get them as caught up as it did back then. But, see these girls be, taking pictures with these guys, and they're like, we're just chilling in the house. So, basically, you a cut buddy. Or, I would meet ladies of the night, performers, on their day jobs. And they would have this attitude because of like, these NBA players and, these wealthy businessmen would come in and spend money on them while they were working. And now they felt like, well, last night such and such came and dropped, X amount of dollars on me. So that's the type of guy I can pull. Baby girl, he's not going to seriously date you. So having the attitude that because of who I have showing me physical attention is who I can pull, that's the wrong type of confidence. The type of confidence I'm talking about is you have your ish together, right? You step out, you're like, okay, I'm clean, hygienically, and I'm clean, with my wardrobe. I'm well put together. I put the effort into. I'm well spoken, and now when I approach someone, I'm more confident because I know I'm put together, and she should be feeling what she sees in return. I think guys, we got to really start there if we want to be successful in the dating market, and having that confidence will also alert you to when you're wasting your time, right? There's a saying going out, and I want everybody to hear that if you treat her like a star, she'll treat you like a fan, right? You should treat anybody you talk to like they're just another person, right? Just because she might be the prettiest woman you've seen today, she's still a person. She's still got the same bodily functions that you got, right? And here you are working yourself, and like I said before, some of the girls you finally get to talk to them, they have zero personality. So you're already ahead of them anyway. But yet you're treating them like they're a celebrity, and she's gonna treat you like she's a fan. You're a fan. Now you treat them like on an interpersonal level, like they're just another person. A lot of times that'll get you a lot farther. I've said it. I've heard it said before, and I'll say it again. Some of the baddest women don't even get approached because they're so bad. So if you treat them just like another regular person, honestly, I've found that to be more work a lot more than the opposite. With guys be all good, like, girl, you so bad. Oh my God, what you doing that for? Have a conversation. Act like she's not the finest woman that you've never dated a fine girl before. Like there's a say, tell me you've never dated a baddie before without telling me you dated a baddie before. You start doing all the sexy stuff like she, is the end all be all, brother. You're not gonna get nowhere, But you have the confidence walking in there, like I got my stuff together. She should see I have my stuff together, and it's not even having an ego, but you gotta have a little bit of arrogance, And what I mean by arrogance is like, why wouldn't she talk to me? And if she doesn't, that's her loss. And that's the type of arrogance and ego I want you guys to have. Like, it is their loss for not dealing with you. Like, I'm not going to trip about it. You have a great night, man. It's a pleasure meeting you. Have a great night. Move the heck on. Don't waste a lot of time, trying to convince someone that you should do it, man. And, one of the greats said it before, I look little in here trying to convince you to deal with me. I'm a prize. And, she could be a prize too, but I'm a prize myself. Like anybody who gets to deal with me gets to get all the great features that I've worked in myself. I got a good career. I got, take care of myself. I work out, blah, 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 blah. They get all these good features. I know I can be a good partner in a relationship. So why am I in here trying to convince you to hire me? I'm a great candidate, right? We need to be convincing each other why we're a great fit. Not me trying to convince you to hire me. Because that's you take that same thing into a job interview. Like, why, if the company is going to be a great fit for you, how do you do that? Because when you walk into that interview, your credentials speak for themselves. You've been in the work. You've completed the task. You can bring more to bear and help their company grow, or help that position, fulfill that position, and make sure that they are getting what they need from that because you've done the work. And that applies to everything, right? Anyway, guys, I wanted to jump on here and talk about that real quick. If you have any questions, about what we talked about in the video, you want me to expound on it more, please comment for me. If you like what I'm talking about today, hit the like button. If you think I'm, full of crap, Put that in the comment section as well. Anyway, I appreciate it, you two guys. You have a great rest of your day.